Thanks everyone for joining us. I am Sharon Campo, Supervising Attorney of Volunteers and Community Projects here at NASA Suffolk Law Services. And I started a new series this year called Learn About Law Services. So you can meet all of our units and meet the attorneys who work in the units, and also so you can figure out how to make referrals for the specific units and the organizations, and kind of like what type of areas of law they help out folks in. So feel free to, ask questions. You can turn up your camera if you like, you can raise your hand, or you can put questions in the chat. But today we're going to be learning about our Independent Consumer Advocacy Network, also known as ICAN. And we have Kimberly Bulk here today, who's going to be presenting on the unit. And then we also are going to be learning about the Senior Citizen Law Project in our Nassau County office with John Farrow. So let me go to the next page here. So if you can, just keep your microphone muted unless you need to ask a question. Like I said, you can put it in the chat, you can raise your hand. And just if you're not familiar with NASA Suffolk Law Services, we are Long Island's largest legal services provider, civil legal services provider on Long Island. We handle approximately 6,000 cases every year. All of our services are completely free. We offer direct representation, referrals, advice and counsel. We have offices in Hempstead, Islandia, and Riverhead, so all over the island. And we have attorneys, paralegals, social workers on our staff. And we also have partnerships with community agencies as well, such as Empire Justice and other organizations. These are our different offices. Obviously, if your client's in Nassau County, try to have them call the Hempstead office. And if they're in Suffolk County, have your client call the office closest to either Islandia or Riverhead, wherever they live. We have approximately 20 different units ranging from a variety of different areas of law, including family law. We have our domestic violence project in Suffolk County, child support project also in Suffolk County. We have disability and health related projects. One of those you're going to be learning about today, which is ICAN. We also have our mental health law project, our HIV unit, amongst many others. All of our projects and their descriptions are on our website, so you can get a full description there. We have our housing unit, which is in both counties, which represents tenants and eviction prevention. We have our foreclosure project in both counties as well. And we have units that also are specific to an area of law, such as consumer debt, veterans, public benefits, seniors, which is what you'll be learning about today. And we also just expanded our community legal help project to Nassau County. It's been in Suffolk for a few years. Now we're in Nassau County as well. And our legal support center for advocates is for folks just like you. If you're an advocate for a nonprofit, an elected official, a government agency, or a religious organization, feel free to give a call to the Legal Support Center for Advocates. It's not meant for clients and meant for advocates only. And we have, I forgot to put Hannah's name on here, but we have Hannah Fitzpatrick here with us today. Hannah, you want to say hi? Hi. There she is. Hi, Hannah. So she's one of our paralegals with the Legal Support Center for Advocates. So if you have a question, let's say like my client is having this legal problem, is that something you all would do? You can call Hannah, myself, or Kathy. And or let's say I just have a quick legal question about this, and we can try and get that information for you. We do host community trainings, such as we've been doing an education debt series. We had a Social Security training last spring, and we have a winter survival skills coming up, which I'm going to talk to you about in just a minute. But feel free to use the QR code. You can go check out our website and get all of the information on there. We have self-help resources. We have our legal lessons that we send out monthly, which gives advocate tips. Lots of good info on there. And just a little advertisement, we're going to be starting our in-person trainings. Before COVID happened, we always had in-person trainings for advocates, and it's been virtual the past few years. So we're going to start doing it in person again. We're really excited because it's so much better to have in-person trainings because you really get to interact with each other and learn what all the agencies do and who you can refer your clients to. So it's kind of like a networking also besides just learning skills. So our first in-person training will be November 17th, 1:30 to 3:30. And we're going to talk about winter emergencies and how to deal with those, including illegal evictions, emergency housing applications, heat emergencies. So it's free and it's in person in Hauppauge. We have a registration link that I can also send out after the meeting. But it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. We're going to have light snack. And so it'll be a good time. So feel free to sign up. And just to know, although most likely we're not going to be giving out any legal information today. If we do, it's always just information. It's not legal advice. Advice depends on each of the specific circumstances in a person's situation. And of course, any materials that might present themselves as legal information cannot replace the advice of competent legal counsel. Okay, so I'm going to pass it off to Kim now.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kimberly Bulk, and I'm a staff attorney here in the ICAN unit. I'm going to just be giving a brief overview of what the ICAN unit is, what kind of cases we assist with, and how you can refer clients to us. So like I said, this is just a brief overview. So if anyone has more specific questions, please feel free to reach out to myself. I can be reached at 631-232-2400, extension 3167. I will put it in the chat as well after the presentation. But referrals can go to our Dropbox. Someone in the unit will receive the message and call them back as soon as possible to do an intake and see if they're eligible for our services. And the Dropbox number, again, I'll put it in the chat, but it's 631-822-3290. Sharon, are you able to advance the slides? Okay. So you can move to... Yes, so first we're going to talk about a brief introduction to ICAN, a little bit about what Medicaid long-term care services are, what is MLTC, and briefly about how to join an MLTC and how you can get help from us. So first, ICAN stands for the Independent Consumer Advocacy Network. We are the New York State Ombuds program for people with Medicaid who need long-term care or behavioral health services, and we'll assist New Yorkers with understanding how to enroll in and use managed care plans that cover long-term care and behavioral health services. We can assist in a variety of ways. We can answer questions about managed care plans. We can give advice about options for the different types of plans available to consumers. We can help them enroll into these plans, identify and solve problems that might arise after they're enrolled in the plan, help folks understand their rights, help them file complaints or grievances if they're upset with something that their plan did, or appeal actions that a person does not agree with that their plan took. So we will help anyone enrolled in a Medicaid managed care plan who needs long-term care services like home care, adult daycare, or nursing home, or behavioral health services, whether it's living with mental illness or recovering with substance use disorders. We can help educate people who are either newly eligible for enrollment in a Medicaid managed care plan or who are currently also enrolled in a managed care plan. And we can talk to the consumer themselves, their friends, family members, social workers, providers, anyone who is helping these consumers make their healthcare decisions. So these are just a list of the plans that we work with. I'll give a brief summary of each of the plans and help you kind of understand what each plan is and the differences. But if there's more in-depth questions, it's specific to a person's situation. So The partially capitated MLTC is that first one listed there. It's a type of Medicaid insurance that adds on to existing Medicaid and Medicare coverage, and it covers just the long-term care services. And there's a few other services like the adult daycare, and I'll go over later in the presentation. Then there's the PACE, which stands for Programs of All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly. It's a type of managed long-term care that includes both Medicare and Medicaid covered services. A person has to be at least 55 years old, and if they join a PACE, they have to go to a center in their neighborhood to get most of their care. The PACE centers have doctors and nurses who coordinate their care, as well as they have adult daycare, meals, and some other services available to the consumers. The MAP plans, or it stands for Medicaid Advantage Plus, is a type of managed long-term care plan that includes both Medicare and Medicaid benefits. It is like a Medicare Advantage plan combined with a Medicaid-only MLTC plan. The age requirements for these plans vary among the specific plans, but they usually range between being 18 plus and 65 plus. The FIDA IDD plan is for people with intellectual developmental disabilities, and it integrates Medicare and Medicaid benefits and provides care coordination. Care coordination as well, and it combines all of your medical care and long-term supports and services through one health plan. The mainstream Medicaid managed care are for people who are not eligible for Medicare, they just have Medicaid. Once they have been approved for Medicaid, they choose a managed care plan that is essentially run by a private health insurance company that provides them with all of their health coverage under Medicaid. And once they're enrolled in this plan, they will receive a card which they can use for access to all of their medical care, including long-term care. And the last type of plan is a HARP plan, which stands for Health and Recovery Plans. This is a type of Medicaid plan that combines all of a person's medical care, including behavioral health care, into one plan. It'll cover medical care, mental health care, and treatment for substance use, but they also provide care coordination and social services. So ICAN is a network of agencies throughout the state that assist consumers based on geography. If they call our ICAN Central helpline, they will be referred out to one of the organizations that you see listed on this slide. We are the agency for Nassau and Suffolk County. And this is just how we can help consumers. There is a trained counselors that answer the helpline Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We also have, at Nassau Suffolk Law Services, we have our own personal drop box for the ICAN unit where residents of Nassau and Suffolk can call, which is the number I gave before, and I'll put in the chat at the end. So they don't have to call the helpline, they can call us directly as well. Our services are completely free and confidential, and we also monitor cases for potential trends, and we report them to the state to, hopefully solve any problems that do arise statewide. So then what is Medicaid long-term care and what are the services that are underneath that? It is unlike health insurance like Medicare and Medicaid, it pays for medical care like your doctors, hospitals, and prescription drugs. Long-term care is for home care, adult daycare, and nursing home care. So home care, some older adults or people with disabilities will need assistance throughout the day with their activities of daily living, also called ADLs. Medicaid can help pay for personal care aides or home health aides to provide these services and assistance within a person's own home. As you'll see on the slide, many of the ADLs that are assisted with are bathing, dressing, toileting, preparing meals, grocery shopping, and laundry, just to name a few. So many New Yorkers who need long-term care get it through Medicaid. Most people with Medicaid must get their long-term care through a managed care plan, and a person must join a plan offered by the private insurance company to get Medicaid to pay for the long-term care. Medicaid then sends capitations to these insurance plans to provide the long-term care to their members. So what is MLTC? It is the different types of plans that I listed before cover long-term care. They services like the home care, adult daycare, nursing home care, medical supplies, and transportation services. All of the plans must follow the same rules as the Medicaid program, and each type of plan may cover different services, but all plans of the same type have to cover the same services. So when you join an MLTC plan, you'll get a care manager. The care manager is there as a resource to the member. They're there to answer questions, or if a member has problems with services, the care manager is there to help them. And the care manager also are supposed to regularly check in and see, how the member is doing and if their care plan is meeting their needs. So the first step when trying to decide whether a person is either eligible or needs long-term care, the first question is, do they have Medicaid? If they don't, then they'll need to apply for and be approved for community Medicaid with community-based long-term care. There are facilitated enrollers throughout the state that can help them apply for Medicaid. A person is not eligible to either enroll in MLTC or receive ICAN services until they are approved for Medicaid. Once they're approved, then we can provide assistance with anything that they might need. The second question would be if they have Medicare. If the person does not have Medicare, then they would be receiving their MLTC through a Medicaid managed care plan, also known as a mainstream plan or a HARP plan. These plans will cover both the doctors, hospitals, medications, also as well as the long-term care services. If a person does have Medicare, then they are what we call a dual eligible, and they have 4 different types of MLTC plans that I described earlier to choose from to get their long-term care services. So then this is the 4 types of plans that they can choose from. A question to ask themselves would be, do they want their Medicare and Medicaid benefits to be combined into one plan? If they do, then PACE, MAP, or FIDA IDD, if they're eligible for the FIDA IDD plans, would be the best option for them. Otherwise, if they don't want Medicare or Medicaid combined, then they would go for the partial capitation Medicaid MLTC plan. So the partial capitation MLTC is the separate health insurance plan that adds on to the existing Medicare and Medicaid coverage. A person is able to keep their current Medicare plan for doctors, hospitals, or other Medicare. So if they have original Medicare, they'll keep that. If they have their Medicare Advantage, they'll keep that. Medicaid MLTC plans just cover the long-term care and a few other services. Because they do not cover doctors, the person can continue to see the same doctors that they're currently seeing. So these are some of the long-term care services that are covered by an MLTC plan. The big ones like home care, adult daycare, private duty nursing services if they have skilled needs that need to be met by a nurse. There's physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy, as well as dental, eyeglass, and podiatry. And those are just some of the benefits. This is not a complete list, but those are the main ones that the MLTC plans cover. So then once a person is approved for Medicaid, the next step is to ask Medicaid whether they need enough help to join an MLTC plan. MLTC plans are not for everyone. A person can only get long-term care if they need help with their daily activities. Medicaid decides if a person is eligible for MLTC by conducting a nursing assessment and a medical examination. This can be scheduled by calling the phone number on the slide, and the nurse from the New York Independent Assessor, which is a New York State run organization, will come and conduct the assessment. So the New York Independent Assessor nurse will conduct a community health assessment. This can be done either in person or by Zoom. It can be requested one way or the other when the person calls to schedule the appointments. And then a medical professional will conduct the clinical appointment also by Zoom or in person. The assessment determines whether you can enroll into an MLTC, but the plans will use this assessment to decide which services and how many hours of home care to authorize. The consumer can have whoever they want present for the assessment. Usually a family member or friend, should be present for the assessment. And then after the assessment, the independent assessor will send out a notice stating whether a person can enroll into an MLTC and whether the person is eligible for home care services. It does not tell the consumer what services they will receive or how many hours. That is up to the plan once they enroll into a specific plan. If you are denied by the independent assessor for enrollment into an MLTC, or they say that you're not eligible for home care services, you do have the right to appeal. And if you are approved, then you can contact the MLTC plan to enroll. And then the plan will still schedule an appointment just to develop a care plan based on the consumer's needs. And so then if the person is approved, they have the type of plan they get to pick or from the ones I described earlier. They can also call ICAN to learn more about the different kinds of plans, or they can also call the New York Medicaid Choice number, which is on the slide, and they are the New York State's enrollment broker for managed care, and they can help with deciding which plan is right for each consumer. So that was a lot of information about ICAN and what we do. But again, if you have any questions, I'll put all of the phone numbers in the chat that you can call either our direct drop box for an intake. You can call myself. I'll put my supervisor's information in there as well. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Thanks so much, Kim. Really appreciate all that great information on what your unit provides. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And then after we learn about the Senior Citizen Law Project, we'll address all the any questions. All right, so take it away, John.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I will talk briefly about the Senior Citizens Law Project here in Nassau County. We are a unit that's consisting of one supervising attorney, Lynn Iacona, 3 staff attorneys, myself, Rose Caputo, and Daniel Okrent. We have a paralegal, Erica Goodrich, and a receptionist, Fanny Brooks. And our funding comes from a grant from the Nassau County Office of the Aging. Our eligibility guidelines are the person has to be 60 years of age or over. They have to be a resident of Nassau County, and we don't have any income guidelines. Some of the things that we assist with are Medicaid planning. If you are over the asset or income limit to be eligible for Medicaid or to maintain your Medicaid eligibility, we can assist with setting up supplemental needs trusts. We can address issues regarding look-back periods and also transfer of asset issues for people who are considering or needing to be put into nursing homes. We deal with advanced directives, wills, powers of attorney, healthcare proxies. We can draft all of those. We address housing issues. Our agency had the good fortune to receive much more money for different units to handle housing. So while we are not in court like we used to be, we handle all predicate issues prior to people going to court, such as reasonable accommodation issues, notices to vacate, lease violations, repair issues, utility shutoffs, and things of that nature. If a person does qualify for our unit specifically for landlord-tenant court, then we do assist in that respect also. And we also assist with Social Security issues such as discontinuances or denials of SSI or retirement or survivors benefit services and overpayments. Any issues that we don't handle, we either refer internally to units that do handle those if the person qualifies for those services, or we make outside referrals. And we can provide special visits for those who can't come to our office because they are homebound or hospitalized. So our intake process is as follows. You can call our office at our main number, 516-292-8100. Our drop box is the number 2 option in the menu. You can leave a voicemail with your name, phone number, a brief message about your legal problem or the legal problem of the client that you're calling about. And our receptionist will call you back, usually within 24 hours. We'll screen for eligibility and the nature of the problem to see if there's a legal problem that we can assist you with. If you qualify for our services and you have a legal problem that we can assist with, then an attorney in the unit will be assigned to your case, and that specific attorney will contact you to discuss your legal problem in further detail. We provide counsel and advice. We collaborate and coordinate with other agencies to obtain assistance for seniors. We advocate in court and before administrative agencies. And after assessing a legal issue, we make appropriate referrals.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much, John. Really appreciate you telling us about the Senior Citizen Law Project. So does anyone have any questions? I know we have one question in the chat for Kim. Marie says, when is a good point to contact ICAN? Post NYIA assessment or before?
So, you can definitely call us before and we can walk through what might happen at the assessment. That way, either the advocate or the consumer can know what is going to happen in more detail. Or if, the consumer feels confident going into the assessment, you can also call us after if any other issues arise. Either one, whatever works best for the consumer or the advocate.
Thank you. And then Marie also asked, can you go over the qualification for Senior Citizen Law Project? So I think you mean the eligibility guidelines. So I'll just go back to that slide. So John, could you just once again just go over the eligibility guidelines?
Our guidelines are you just have to be 60 years of age or over. You have to be a resident of Nassau County, and we don't have any income guidelines.
Okay. Do you have like a needs base though? Like if let's say like, is there any kind of like, would you ever do an evaluation based on like
we would do evaluations if people have very extremely large amounts of resources or assets, because we tend to try to assist people who are lower on the asset scale. But we, at the very least, would offer some kind of advice. We don't turn anybody away, or we would make appropriate referrals.
Okay, thanks, John. Or does anyone have any other questions? You can either raise your hand, turn off your video, or you're welcome, Marie, or put the questions in the chat. Kim, I have a question for you. And I actually know the answer to this, but maybe other people don't. So are you just advice and counsel, or do you actually go to court for people, or is it just advice and counsel and guiding folks along the way?
So it all depends. We can definitely, a lot of the cases are advice and counsel. Depending on the situation, if there are need for appeals for additional hours, we can, depending on the case and our caseload, we normally have to prioritize based on need, but we can draft appeals. We can potentially do representation. The only thing we're not allowed to do is we cannot participate in fair hearings. So if a person does need a fair hearing on whatever issue they're having, we cannot represent.
All right, thanks for that clarification. Pamela asked, and I hope one of you know what this means because I have no idea. Could you be helpful to someone that has a code 54?
Okay, I'll explain deeper.
Okay,
Someone trying
thanks.
to obtain long-term care and previously were on a spin down, and now the spin down amount has changed, so they're no longer on spin down, and they became eligible for Medicaid. However, there's a code 54 on their case that has to be removed, and I believe I just wanted to know if that was something you guys would be helpful in helping to get that code moved off, because until that code is removed, the person cannot obtain care.
If the person is trying to get long-term care, we could potentially help. That would be if the person who wants assistance can call so that we can do an intake. Like I said, if they're trying to get long-term care, ICAN could potentially assist with that.
Thank you. I'll give the call.
Thanks, Kim. All right, does anyone else have any questions for Kim or John? Okay, great. So if you do have any other questions, feel free to email me, scampo@nsls.legal. It's in the chat. Kim put her phone number and the extension in the chat as well. And if you would like a copy of the presentation, please feel free to email me. I am putting all of these presentations and the ones we did in the spring as well on YouTube. So I will, when I send out the email later today or tomorrow with a copy of the presentation, I'll make sure I include a link to our YouTube channel. So if you missed out any of the other presentations, you can definitely watch them. All right, well, thanks so much, everyone. And I hope you all have a wonderful, happy Monday and a great rest of your week.